Hey, what's up guys? It's Matt. And so today I wanted to talk about things that are sometimes maybe a good problem, but as a new grad, there's definitely some rights and wrongs, and so this is some real world experience. I talked about how I got a job offer, how I accepted. It was my #1 hospital. Everything was all gravy, and in a weird kind of series of events, I wound up getting an offer from another hospital, and it was a hospital that I always wanted to go to during clinic, but they just didn't take as many students. So I never got the opportunity to go, so I actually don't know what it's like there, but the offer was for a significant amount more money. So that's definitely one thing you got to think about when you're in the job hunt. It's not just about who's paying you the most. I mean, there's a lot of other things to consider. You know, when you're applying for jobs, you know, you may ahead of time get your pros and cons and lay them out, and you know, really kind of hone in on somewhere you think you'd like to work based on what you know about the facilities the best you can. And there usually is unknowns like pay, which you really don't know until you get an offer, unless you have like an inside line or whatever. But so I was supposed to start the job I accepted today. Today was my new hire orientation. The call came in for the second offer Friday just before 3 o'clock. And so with it being the long Labor Day weekend, didn't give me a lot of time to figure things out as well as I'd like to. So basically what I tried to do, and this is what I recommend you do if something like this happens, is you need to call your first offer back as soon as possible, particularly if you accepted it like I did. Basically, me and my wife were at Target with our kids, like looking at Halloween stuff, and when I got that call, I'm like, okay, I need to go home. You know, I don't want to like call back another manager in the middle of Target walking around like it's something I gotta like collect my thoughts on. So we went home, and yeah, I texted that manager, since that was a manager that I had known through clinic, and I had basically said, hey, you know, we need to talk. Can you call me? And so the first thing she said when she called me almost right away and said, please don't tell me you're backing out. And I felt awful. And I said, well, I didn't accept the offer yet, but I basically explained what the offer was, and that it was for like almost $4 more per hour. And so she told me, well, straight up, she told me they weren't going to be able to pay me any more money. So right there, it's kind of like, okay, well, she said, you didn't accept it, like just think about the long weekend, take your time, call me on Tuesday with whatever you've decided. I said, okay. So over the long weekend, had some stuff going on, family things, birthdays, all that stuff. But me and my wife talked about it extensively, and ultimately came up with one of two options. I'm gonna take the more money because they're both full-time night positions. Or I did attempt to counter. So today I called the manager back and asked if it would be possible for them to offer me days instead of a night shift, and basically saying that I was willing to leave $4 an hour on the table for days, and they weren't able to do it. They didn't have any positions or any way to make that work, which I kind of figured, because hospitals hire based on need, I feel like, a lot of the time. Which meant that I had to renege on the accepted offer I made. What made it really awkward was this morning, probably like 7:30 is when I texted the manager to like, hey, like, can you give me a call about my decision and my counter offer? And then about 8 o'clock, a representative from HR from that hospital called because I wasn't at the new hire orientation. I hadn't checked in, and they were like, oh, I just want to know, are you on your way? And it was like, ooh, yeah, I'm actually waiting to talk to the manager because I got an offer, and had told them that I'd got another offer. It was for more money, for basically the same shift, and I was waiting to see what the manager was going to tell me. Because that sounds crazy to leave $4 an hour on the table for days versus nights, but I don't believe nights are a rite of passage. I think that's a load of crap. Anyone who tells you otherwise, like, they can shove it. You know, I'm not in my 20s coming out of like school here. Like, I'm in my 30s. I have a family with little kids. You know, nights are going to be very hard. Nights are hard enough to work with my wife's schedule, even harder to work with childcare schedule. And if you know what childcare schedules are like, you know that they're pretty fixed. They're not flexible, and they're expensive. So I'm not thrilled about nights either way. So yeah, I was willing to leave that much money on the table for a day shift, you know, but it is what it is. So for now, I intend just to basically stick with nights here for a while. I'm gonna try to pursue days as much as I can, and then basically if I'm hitting my my first year mark, kind of wiping myself with that new grad dust, I'll reevaluate the facility I'm at, or I will look elsewhere for a job that will offer me days. So that's kind of the plan for now. But yeah, guys, so if you get caught in the same position where you've applied to multiple hospitals, I guess only apply at the hospitals you're like 100% willing to accept A. So don't bother applying anywhere that you're really not willing to work, unless you just really are hurting for a job and the job market's tight. When you get offered, don't be afraid to say, okay, cool, can I have a day or two to think about it? And because I've interviewed other places and just waiting to see if they have an opportunity to give you an offer, you know, and then you can reach out to those HRs and like, hey, you know, I interviewed whenever, just wondering if I was gonna get an offer, or what your time frame is, you know, like to figure out a good way to word it. You know, me, I jumped on that first offer so bad because it was my number one, not expecting to get even another offer, and not expecting to get an offer that much more lucrative in terms of compensation. So it's a little bit of a bummer to not get to work at my number one, but just financially it would have been like a bad decision to not take the more money, just because that price difference, you know, that income difference is so significant that, you know, sometimes think about it, and instead of dollars per hour, like calculate how much that would be a year. So if you take 4 times 36 times 52, it's like just under $7,500 a year. That's a lot of money. Think about it that way. That's $7,500 of debt you can pay down, paying off a car. For me, that's a significant chunk of my childcare expenses, basically covered by that much money. So it just made sense. But so just be careful, guys. Don't get into that pickle where you accept one and then you have the awkwardness of having to like either withdraw, or once you've accepted it, having to, you know, try to negotiate or after you've already basically accepted an offer as it's been stated. Especially if you're in a contract state or whatever. Arizona's right to work, so there's no such thing as really a contract in that sense here, unless, I mean, you're a traveler or something like that, but for most part it's at-will employment. So in terms of negotiating back, if they'd said like, well, no, you signed this so we don't have to honor anything else, then you can just walk away and be like, well, whatever. But you know, I have good rapport with that, and I feel like despite the way it worked out, I think we left on good terms with one another. You know, maybe one of these days I'll be able to get back there and work at that hospital, because I do really, really like that crew. I like the pace. I like everything about that hospital. Just right now, I had to do what was best for my family. So anyways, guys, just some things to think about, especially those of you who are graduating soon, or just graduated, or just getting your registries and getting your licenses and all that stuff figured out. As you're hitting the jobs, you know, just be careful, be respectful, respect other people's time. I think that's really important, not in terms of just interviewing, obviously, but you know, you expect them to respect your time a little bit, and you should respect theirs too. So, you know, it was very time sensitive. As soon as I got that second offer, I went home immediately and called that manager to say, hey, this is what's going on. You know, not lollygagging and waiting until the day you're supposed to start, or like waiting 2 weeks, you know, to get back to them, be like, oh, by the way, hey, I'm not going to start. You know, as soon as you get a counter offer or something, like, call them immediately. I know it's not always fun. Not everyone has that personality that'll want to just go do it or whatever. But you know, it's what's best for you. It's what's best for them. You know, if you're going to back out of an offer, don't wait till they've spent money on you, if possible. I mean, unfortunately, I'd already gone through all the employee health stuff, so they had to absorb the cost of me getting like a TB test and fit test. And not that those are necessarily super expensive things, but it's still a cost. It's still they started to invest in me, and I was able to get to a point, but like, hey, before you start training me, I got this other offer. So, anyways, guys, let me know what you think, comments or whatever below. Hopefully no one else gets in the same predicament. You know, it's a good thing as a new grad to have more than one offer. A lot of places, especially in the current market, especially if you're in a populace where it's already a competitive market, is unlikely to happen for a lot of people. So you know, it's definitely it feels good to have more than one offer, but just make sure you go about it, stay professional, and you'll be all right. All right, everyone, take it easy. Have a great day.